Hey guys, it's Super here. So it's a bit late into the day, but I'm trying to get this video out before the end of the first day. And today we can see that we do have Adventurous Journey returning. So how this event works is you pick one of these tracks. As a free-to-play, you get the first hero over here. Well, the second hero on this page, but rather the first tier hero. And for spenders, you can opt to spend, I believe, about $30 or $40. We'll check in a bit in order to obtain the heroes listed on this page. So the question most of you guys will be having is, what should you pick? And let's talk about free-to-play first. So the options are Eosdeen, Grace, Aiden, and lastly, Beetlejuice. And for the free-to-play side of things, the only real option is really just to pick Grace. Grace is the only usable character out of the four, and she serves as a pretty decent bleed support, starting at exclusive 1. However, it must be said she has been completely outclassed, but as a free-to-play player, you still may find some use out of her. So what if you're a spender? This is where things gets a little bit more interesting. And assuming, you don't have any of these heroes, let me talk about the one hero you should not get, and that hero is Bill. Bill is, I would say, objectively the worst character amongst all these options. You will only really get him, I guess, if you have these remaining heroes. And Bill is an internal injury support whose only real niche is in 7 Sages of Luli and Planar Rifts. And the even worst thing about him is he heavily requires his exclusive tree. So if you don't have any of these 4 heroes, the one I would recommend not to pick, once again, is Bill. So this leaves the remaining 3 heroes, all of which are excellent and all of which are viable choices as a spender. So in which situations should you pick each of them? Well, it's kind of for you to decide since all of these characters are very strong. So let me just cover each of them in order and then you can decide for yourself which one that you want. So Penny is a fantastic HP burn support. She actually does some decent damage on her own, but primarily she supports the Pursue and Attack team for PvP, and of course supports your HP burn damage dealers. So this is going to be very strong, especially if you have Talis, which of course is a free-to-play accessible character through the Valhalla, which is basically where you get your mythic heroes. And if you have both Penny and Talis, both of them combined will be a very strong duo in both PvP and in some capacity PvE. Besides that, Penny in PvE of course works well with any HP burn teams. If you're a spender and you have characters like Irato exclusive 3, you have Penny once again, you have Talis and so on, then you will have a very strong team. And if you have the remaining heroes, you can also set up a classic arena or advanced arena team called the Pursue and Attack team, which comprises of these characters: Sonokong exclusive 3, Talis exclusive 3, Felicia exclusive 3, Penny exclusive 3, and Irato exclusive 3. And if you can afford it, the Serpent Pet as well as an added bonus. This team is extremely strong and is in fact one of the current meta teams. So if you need Penny to round out that team, she will be a fantastic option. And of course, like most heroes, she does require exclusive 3, but she is still stronger even at lower exclusives. Next we have Vasily. Vasily is a fantastic bleed damage dealer. I think quite possibly the best PvE non-limited time hero damage dealer in the game. And he's a bleed damage dealer. Pretty straightforward, I would say, just basically does a whole bunch of damage. I don't really want to go into the skills too specifically, but one thing I will mention, and I think it's worth pointing out, is that Vasily is an extremely stat-hungry character, which may make it difficult for early game players to get the max value out of him. Vasily is a character that you want to have extremely high attack. I'm talking about 70,000 or maybe 80,000 and above in the late game, alongside some very nice mastery as well, 150 or more. So he's a character which you still can get value out of in the early stages, once again also decently exclusive reliant, but once you are able to build him and get his exclusives up, he is going to be an extremely strong PvE damage dealer. And lastly, we have Ans. Ans, I would say, is the most versatile since he's a damage recorder. He can fit into basically any team you can slot him in particularly in PvE, since he will record any damage you deal to bosses, and of course that essentially functions as a multiplier for any of your damage dealt. Besides that, in PvP, he still has some very good uses, especially in the HP deduction team. We may see some meta shifts with the new upcoming limited time hero Kain, but for now we are not too sure. But you can see we do have this HP deduction team over here, with this basically being the best possible setup, with some players opting to use Tatron over Kalana over here in this slot. Besides his PvP use, of course, in general, Ans is going to be a very strong character, definitely very exclusive tree reliant, and probably amongst all these characters, the hardest to build for a new player because he does require, or he does like to have 150% crit rate which is extremely difficult as a new player. So amongst these 4 options, let me just go through once again what you should be picking. As a free-to-play player, just take the bleed track to get Grace over here. And as a pay-to-win player, you can choose one of the 4 options. And the main one, unless you have all the other heroes already, I wouldn't pick is Bill. And besides Bill, the best options amongst Penny, Vasily, and Ans really depends on your situation. So after all that being said, I'm going to explain what I'm picking and why. So I'm going to be picking Bill, and this might be a bit controversial because you just heard me say Bill is by far the worst pick, and that remains true, but I already have Penny exclusive tree, Vasily exclusive tree, and Ans exclusive tree as well. So I have Bill currently at exclusive 1, and he's an exclusive 3 reliant character, so I will want to get a copy of him to get him to exclusive 2, and then I can use an eye to get him to exclusive 3. So in my specific scenario, it is worth it for me, at least in my opinion, to get Bill over here. And we can see before we end the video, the supply card costs 30 USD, which is going to be the cost of essentially this copy of the hero and of course all the other goodies. This is actually really good value because you can, I guess, consider a copy of Bill the same as a copy of a legendary Dragon Eye. In fact, you may consider a copy of Bill even more than a Dragon Eye if you don't have the character itself. Of course, when I say copy of Bill, it could be copy of whatever you choose. And $30 is a pretty good value way to obtain it. So yeah, that's all we have for today. Hope this was useful, and I'll see you guys next time.